Imagine, if you will, a young man standing on the edge of everything. At just 26, his face adorns magazine covers, his voice charms millions on television screens across America. He's got the world at his feet, adventures on pirate ships through time, secret missions in exotic locales, a smile that could melt the iciest heart. But in one split-second jest, gone. A blank cartridge, a prop gun, a life snuffed out like a candle in the wind. Who was this man who promised so much, only to leave us wondering what might have been? His name was Jon-Erik Hexum, and tonight, on Timeless Voices, we gather to remember not just the star, but the boy, the dreamer, the son who touched lives in ways that echo still today. Shall we? Before the glamour of Hollywood spotlights, before the applause, there was a quiet home in New Jersey where a mother's love built dreams from the ground up. Pull up a chair, dear friends. Let me take you there. It was November 5, 1957, when Jon-Erik Hexum entered the world in Englewood, New Jersey, a crisp autumn day that seemed to whisper promises of adventure. His father, Thorleif, had come from the fjords of Norway, bringing with him stories of Viking seas and endless horizons. His mother, Grethe, born in Minnesota to Norwegian roots, was the steady heartbeat of the family, her warmth as enduring as the prairies she'd left behind. Jon-Erik was the younger of two boys, with his brother Gunnar just a few years ahead. Two lads full of mischief, chasing fireflies in the summer dusk and building forts from fallen branches. Life wasn't always easy, though. When Jon-Erik was only 4, his parents parted ways, leaving Grethe to raise her sons alone in the little town of Tenafly. She worked 2 jobs, days blurring into nights, just to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. Yet in that hardship, she wove magic. She was wonderful when we were growing up, Jon-Erik would later say in a quiet interview, his voice catching with gratitude. Somehow she found money to buy us a piano. We got to go to the theater now and then, and I took singing and dancing lessons. Imagine it, a single mother scrimping pennies, yet insisting her boys dream bigger than their circumstances. Grethe didn't just provide, she inspired. She taught them that art could be a lifeline, a way to soar beyond the ordinary.
As a boy, Jon-Erik was a late bloomer. What he'd call a quiet type, more observer than showman. He loved soccer from the time he could kick a ball, wrestling in the backyard with Gunnar, swimming laps until his fingers pruned. But it was the stage that first called to him. At Tenafly High School, he burst into bloom like a flower after a long winter. He starred in Carousel as a wide-eyed young sailor, his voice carrying the ache of young love across the auditorium. Senior year, he led the class as president, twirled a baton as drum major for the marching band, even made history as the school's first male cheerleader, flipping and shouting with the grin that lit up the football field. Enthusiasm, he once laughed in an interview, that's my secret weapon. By graduation in 1976, Jon-Erik wasn't just a student, he was a force. A 6'1" frame packed with athletic grace, blue eyes sparkling with untapped fire. College took him further afield, a wandering heart seeking its path. He started at Case Western Reserve in Cleveland, dipping toes into biomedical engineering, but the pull of stories was stronger. He transferred to Michigan State University, where he earned a degree in political philosophy in 1980. Oh, the adventures there. He spun records as a radio disc jockey, his voice smooth as velvet over late-night airwaves. He suited up for the Spartans football team, a backup quarterback with dreams of glory. And on stage, minor roles in plays that fed his soul. All the while, he lifted weights 3 times a week, ran miles under open skies, keeping that chiseled form that would one day turn heads in Hollywood. I feel it is a great fortune to have something you love to do, he'd say, that confidence shining through like sunlight on water. One of his strongest traits, he admitted, was that unshakable belief in himself, even when the world hadn't caught up yet.
Graduation came, and with it, a leap of faith. Days after collecting his diploma, Jon-Erik packed a bag and headed to New York City, the city of lights and dreamers, where every corner hummed with possibility. He crashed into the grind,
cleaning apartments for pocket change, lifeguarding at pools, scooping ice cream cones with a smile. Auditions were his religion, rejections his daily bread. But then fate knocked. While scrubbing floors in a high-rise, he caught the eye of Bob Lamond, the legendary manager who'd launched John Travolta into the stars. "You've got it, kid," Lamond told him. "Pack for LA." By September 1981, Jon-Erik was westbound, heart pounding like a drum solo. Hollywood didn't roll out the red carpet overnight, but when it did, oh, what a welcome. First came the modeling gigs, striding runways, posing for Calvin Klein ads that plastered billboards from coast to coast. His face, that perfect blend of rugged charm and boyish allure, made him a sensation. But Jon-Erik craved more than still shots. He hungered for stories that moved. In 1982, lightning struck. The lead in NBC's Voyagers, a Sunday night adventure where he played Phineas Fogg, a swashbuckling time traveler zipping through history with a young sidekick. Picture it, dueling pirates on the high seas one week, outwitting spies in ancient Rome the next. Jon-Erik brought heart to the role, his laughter booming as he leapt from era to era. "It's like being a kid in a candy store," he quipped in a press junket, eyes alight. The show faced tough competition up against 60 Minutes and bowed after one season, but it put him on the map. Fans wrote letters by the thousands, enchanted by this modern Errol Flynn with the philosopher's soul. Then, 1983, the TV movie Making of a Male Model, opposite the glamorous Joan Collins. Aaron Spelling's production was pure escapism, a tale of a farm boy turned fashion icon. Jon-Erik's character stripped down for beach scenes, shirtless and sun-kissed, and America swooned. Rating soared. It cracked the top 10. But behind the glamour, Jon-Erik wrestled with the spotlight's glare. "It turned out more exploitative than I thought," he confessed later, a touch of rue in his voice. "All those shirtless moments for no reason. It wasn't the depth I craved." Rumors swirled of a romance with Joan, but he waved them off with a chuckle. "She's a nice lady, fun to work with. That's it, no fireworks." Still, the role cemented him as Hollywood's new heartthrob, a sex symbol with substance. Work poured in after that. A guest spot on Hotel in 1984, where he wooed Emma Samms as a fairy tale prince. Chemistry so electric, sparks flew off-screen too. They dated briefly, a whirlwind of laughs and late-night talks. And then the big one, CBS's Cover-Up, launching that fall. Jon-Erik starred as Mac Harper, a globe-trotting model moonlighting as a CIA operative, dodging bullets and bad guys alongside Jennifer O'Neill. The set buzzed with energy. Jon-Erik arrived each day with scripts in hand and jokes on his lips. "Confidence is my edge," he'd say, flexing that easy charisma. Off camera, he was the guy belting show tunes or debating philosophy over coffee, humble despite the hype. Playgirl profiled him that November, capturing his clothed poise and that signature grin. And capping it all, his film debut in The Bear, playing Pat Trammell, the tragic quarterback in a tribute to Coach Paul Bear Bryant. Jon-Erik shaved his head, visited Alabama to meet the real Pat's family, immersing so deeply it broke his heart. "I want to play the romantic lead who dies," he mused in one interview, unknowingly prophetic. Amid the whirlwind, love found its way in. Jon-Erik's heart was as big as his dreams, generous, playful, seeking connection beyond the superficial. He dated Heather Thomas, the radiant co-star from The Fall Guy, sharing quiet evenings and shared ambitions. There was Emma Samms, that hotel spark, turning to stolen kisses and inside jokes. And then in his final months, E.G. Daily. Elizabeth, the voice behind so many 80s hits, stole his breath. They were opposites in the best way. Her bubbly energy to his thoughtful depth. "She gets me," he told a friend once, "eyes soft." Jon-Erik wasn't one for grand gestures. He was the miser who drove a '54 Chevy Bel Air, lived in a sparsely furnished Burbank ranch house, saving every dime for the future. Extreme miser, he'd laugh self-depreciatingly. But with love, he gave freely, singing her lullabies at midnight, debating life's big questions till dawn. No scandals, no tabloid frenzy, just a man learning to balance fame with feeling. Yet, fame's weight pressed heavy.
Jon-Erik dreamed of directing, producing, stories with soul, not just surface. He'd founded his own company just weeks before that fateful day, sketches of scripts tucked in his desk. "I'm not just a hunk," he insisted in interviews. "I want roles that challenge, that linger." He was humbled to a fault, down to earth amid the dazzle, volunteering at shelters, calling his mom every Sunday. Gretha, ever his anchor, beamed from afar. Gunnar, his big brother, the steady tech was even then, offered quiet counsel. Family was his North Star. October 12, 1984. Stage 18 at 20th Century Fox. The cover-up crew hummed with the usual rhythm. Cameras rolling for golden opportunity, Jon-Erik's Mac Harper dodging fictional peril. But delays mounted. A botched master shot, lights flickering, tempers fraying. Jon-Erik, ever the mood lifter, grew restless. In his hand, a real .44 Magnum, loaded with blanks for the scene, wadding kite as a secret. To break the tension, he joked about Russian roulette. Unloaded all but one chamber, spun the cylinder, raised it to his temple. "Let's see if I get myself with this." His last words, light as air. The trigger pulled. No bullet, but the blast's force? A wad of paper at 80 feet per second shattered bone like glass. A quarter-sized skull fragment pierced his brain, blood blooming silent and swift. He slumped, eyes fluttering. Chaos erupted. Screams, calls to 911, hands pressing his wound. Rushed to Beverly Hills Medical Center, surgeons toiled 5 hours, stitching life from threads. For 6 days, the world held breath. Gretha flew in, Gunnar by her side, whispering prayers. E.G. clutched his hand, tears carving rivers. On October 18, brain death came. 26 years young, gone. Not in glory, but in a moment's folly. A stark reminder of Prop's deadly whisper. Gretha, heart-shattering, made the call. Life support to San Francisco. Jon-Erik's gifts, his strong heart to a 36-year-old Las Vegas man, kidneys to a 5-year-old boy clinging to hope, and a 43-year-old grandmother of 3 who'd waited 8 years, corneas to a 66-year-old veteran and a little girl seeing stars anew. Even skin to heal a toddler's burns rippled outward, saving souls he never met. Cremated in Glendale, his ashes scattered off Malibu's waves, where the Pacific cradles eternity. The outpouring? Title. Cover Up aired his episode 2 weeks later, credits fading to tribute. When a star dies, its light continues to shine, forever. Anthony Hamilton stepped in, but the show limped on, shadowed. Jon-Erik's estate, $255,000 strong, settled quietly with the studio, a mother's quiet victory. Today, 4 decades on, his family carries the flame. Gretha, that pillar of grace, passed in 2017, her work done, her boy's light etched in her smile. Gunnar, now in his late 60s, thrives in Massachusetts, owner of a tech firm, innovating quietly, just as Jon-Erik might have admired. Brothers in spirit still, Gunnar's life a testament, steady hands building from loss. No children of Jon-Erik's own, but his legacy? In the lives he mended, the safety reforms on sets that followed, echoes of his passion for doing good. Dear listeners, as we close this chapter on Timeless Voices, think of Jon-Erik not in tragedy, but triumph. The boy who danced, the man who dared. In a world that rushes past, his story whispers, live fully, love deeply, leave light behind. Until next time, keep those voices timeless. Good night.